In just 61 more days, USC is going to start their 2025 season at home inside the LA Coliseum. I'm going to tell you how last year's 7-6 outcome, how it's going to play a significant role in what happens in 2025.
You are Locked On USC, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Culkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network your first listen every day. Whether you're watching this show on YouTube, wherever you want to download this podcast, this show is always free, and this show will always appreciate your support. Today's episode, it's brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So USC had 3 losses last year on the schedule that just stick out like a really big, fat, sore thumb. Still bugs me. The loss at Minnesota, the loss at Maryland, and of course that loss at Washington. Those are the 3 that really stick out the most. USC lost 4 times on the road, but those are the 3 that really should not have happened. The other one at Michigan. Shouldn't have happened as well, but understandable. Michigan was the defending national champions at the time. Look, I get all 3 losses were on the road, the ones that I want to talk about, and how they're going to play a role in what happens this upcoming season. But USC should not have lost those games. And it's the difference between going 7-6 and 9-3. And 9-3 paints a completely different picture. It changes the narrative. One of those narratives, can Lincoln Riley, coach? Is he one of the top coaches in the country? Because if you're a top coach in the country, one of the top 5, you don't lose to Maryland, Minnesota, Washington. Especially last year's squads from those schools. So those 3 games, they played a significant role in why USC played in Las Vegas twice last year. Well, yeah, twice. One game, it was already scheduled, the win against LSU to open the season. But 7-6 is why USC was finishing up against Texas A&M. Look, I'm not sure what kind of learning experience the team takes from being Maryland's only conference win. Yeah, that happened. Maryland went 1-8 in the Big Ten Conference last year. However, I know this. Losing by 1 point to a crappy team should be a wake-up call. The only thing I can think of is, the only lesson you're going to take from that is when you're playing one of the worst teams in the conference, it teaches you that you can't take any team lightly, even the bad teams. Again, USC was 1-4 on the road. And that one win, it wasn't even a road win. It was at the Rose Bowl against UCLA. The Trojans need to match last year's win total in their first game on the road this year at Purdue. Look, winning will be good enough. Okay, that'll be a lesson learned. But beating the brakes off the Boilermakers will be a really good way to tell if Lincoln Riley and USC, if the team learned their lesson about allowing bad teams to hang around. And that's what Purdue's going to be in 2025. They're going to be a bad team. What do you learn on playing on the road? And what do you take away from losing on the road? Well, you've got the adversity. You've got how to handle hostile crowds. You got to learn how to handle those high pressure situations, which I don't think USC did very well last year. Right? I don't know how you quantify handling hostile crowds, but don't forget USC had a lead in the fourth quarter in all their games. So I don't think the crowd played a role, but those high pressure situations sure did. And I know USC knows how to handle those high pressure situations. We saw them do it against 2 SEC teams in Las Vegas. Now, both LSU, Texas A&M, they have rabid fan bases. So yeah, they'll bring the noise. And I get it, Las Vegas is a lot closer to LA than traveling to College Park, Maryland, or Seattle, Washington, or you know, Minnesota, going to Minneapolis. But USC show they can handle, playing in environments with rabid fan bases. I don't think that played the role. Was travel, was the fatigue? I don't think that had anything to do with it. With that being said, we're going to see if USC handles their travel plans differently in 2025. I don't want to hear the coaches of any program, whether it's USC, UCLA. I just don't want to hear it. Look, for me, it comes down to executing better, especially late in the games. Remember, USC held leads in the fourth quarter of every game last year, except for the Notre Dame game. Pretty sure, off the top of my head. So executing better late in games, and that includes running the ball inside the red zone. You got to be more efficient, more effective with that. Remember the loss at Washington? You have to get that touchdown on the goal line. That can't happen. You got to be able to impose your will, whether you're at the Coliseum or you're playing in Seattle in November. Weather wasn't an issue. I don't think weather is ever going to be an issue. Reminding everybody, including fans from the Big Ten Conference, USC knows what it's like to play in the desert in September and October. They played it in both Arizona schools. They know what it's like to play in the cold weather in Utah and Colorado, the cold weather up there in the Pacific Northwest. USC traveling back east, weather is not an issue. Wind is an issue wherever you are. Heat, cold, that's not going to bother USC. They played in every type of environment when they were members of the Pac-12. So that game against Washington, score the goal line. You win the game. Better clock management's going to help. That's on the coaching staff. That's on Lincoln Riley with his play calling. Most importantly, when you're playing on the road, ball security, better decision making. Those two things alone played a significant factor in why USC did not come away with wins at Maryland, Minnesota, Washington. I mean, USC led 17-10 at Minnesota. About 7 minutes left. You had that late interception. When that interception, at the worst, USC is driving for a field goal. Okay, that if Michael Lance gets a chance to kick a field goal, he'd already made a 54-yarder earlier in the game. If USC gets 3 points out of that drive, the replay officials, they're not going to get a chance to bend USC over at the end of the game. They're not going to let Minnesota's head coach, jump up and down like a little toddler having a tantrum, making sure he gets his way. Yes, that happened. TJ Fleck. He figured out a way to row the boat when they didn't win the game. Penalties were also an ass kicker in that game for USC. When they have 8, 9 penalties. Remember that late call against Easton Mascarenas Arnold? It's those types of things. Even if it's a bad call, you can't put yourself in that situation. The Trojans, again, they were a lot closer to being 9-3 than many people believe. Coach Riley said it all last year. We're close. And I know nobody wanted to hear that, including me. But it's kind of the truth. It was the little things happening at the wrong times. That's part of the game. And you got to be able to handle those situations better. So that's what we're looking. What did USC learn their lesson from last year? Have they learned how to play situational football better? 9-3 just by winning those games on the road. And who knows what happens? If USC doesn't lose the game at home in overtime to Penn State. We know what happens. USC's in the playoffs because that's 10-2. Again, I can accept the losses to Michigan. I can accept the loss to Penn State at home. Those were playoff teams. One played in the national championship game. The other played in the semifinal. But those other three on the road, no, I can't accept those. Cannot happen. I'm not trying to do the woulda, coulda, shoulda stuff. But again, that's what happened. USC could have won those games. USC would have won those games if ... USC, bottom line, should have won those games, period. End of story. Especially when you're losing to teams that you have no business losing to. I am hoping this is a pissed off team when they get off the bus in West Lafayette. That's their first road game. They're playing a really bad Purdue team. At least on paper, they're going to be really bad. New coaching staff, roster turnover. I wish a lot of luck and success to Coach Josh Henson, just not in this game. Look, if USC goes up big on the road and extends that lead throughout the game, it'll be a lesson learned. Hopefully they'll remember it for the rest of the season as well. All right, 2 more segments to go. Got a email or I got a message from one of my everyday listeners, Roy M. Said, look, we've heard a lot about the offensive line and the defensive line. What about the linebackers in the secondary? We'll talk about that in the next segment. Summer sports, full swing. Baseball. That's it. That's what we got going right now. And whether you're all about baseball under lights, maybe you like to golf on the green. I don't know. You like soccer? You can check that out. FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following the action anyway, so why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game with all your friends. Well, sometimes your friends are hanging out with you. Sometimes a lot of your friends are just hanging out on the beach, getting sunburned. You don't have to get burned. You can make some money. FanDuel is easy to use. It's fast to pay out, and it makes even regular season games, it makes it feel like must-watch events. Whether you're placing a same-game parlay, watching your bet ride into the 9th inning, doesn't matter. FanDuel makes it feel like you're part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, here's the perfect time to sign up. New customers, you can bet just $5, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if that first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today, or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. It's that simple. So, as I mentioned, Roy M. said, man, Mark, you've been covering the offensive line, the defensive line. I know everything I need to know. Talk to me. Do we have any concerns? So which position groups concern you out of the linebackers in the secondary? All right. I broke it down into 3 separate groups. I mean, fall camp, it's just 30 days away. So it's a valid question. If I had to list each position group by concern, excuse me, I would start, the most concerning would be the cornerbacks. Then it's the linebackers. And then I guess the least concerning would be the safety room, the group of safeties. Why? I'll tell you why. As far as the corners, I guess the question is, who are they? Who's going to be your starting corners? Who are the backups? What's the rotation? That's why it's my biggest concern right now. You've got DeCarlos Nicholson returning. You've got Prophet Brown returning. You brought in a couple of transfers, DJ Harvey, Chasen Johnson from Central Florida. And then, so those are the guys who are going to have the most playing experience heading into fall camp. Behind them, guys who are looking to, pave their path. You got Marcellus Williams, Braylon Conley, second-year guys. They got a little bit of a taste last year. They know what it feels like to play in Danton Lynn's system. So they're not coming into this as, newbies trying to get their feet wet. They're soaked. They know what it's all about. Now it's just a matter of competing and earning some playing time, fitting into the rotation, which they will. But after that, after those guys, after DeCarlos and Prophet, DJ Harvey, Chasen Johnson, the guys with the most experience, Marcellus and Braylon, then you got another group. Bunch of talented guys. But again, they got to compete. They got to earn their way on the field. They don't have any experience. Preston Castro, big, tall, rangy. Alex Graham, physical guy out of Michigan. Kevin Longstreet came over from Texas A&M with his brother Husan, he came over from Texas A&M. His brother Husan signed with USC. Kevin has a little bit of experience at A&M, mostly special teams. And then you got a couple of young guys, James Johnson, Isaiah Rubin from Los Alamitos, also second-year player. So there's talent. There's enough bodies. But the concern is who's going to be playing? What's the rotation? I think we'll see how the group develops and how much they get tested. But that's probably not going to happen as far as the testing part of it until USC hits the road when they go up against Purdue. Now, I think we're going to see a lot of the younger guys in those first two games. We better see a lot of those younger guys in the first two games. If not, it means the games are probably closer than they should be, which wouldn't be a good look. The other side of the coin is, well, you know what? The coaching staff wants these guys to, build some chemistry. That's why your starters are playing a little bit longer than they should be. I get that. But also these first two games, they really should be preseason warm-ups. This should be USC Citadel, Tennessee Tech, those types of games that, those programs in the SEC like to schedule before their rivalry games so they can give their starters a rest. Same philosophy. Just USC's playing Division I teams. That's the difference. One thing that makes the cornerbacks, especially an unproven group of cornerbacks, look good is when you get the guys in the front seven creating pressure, getting in the backfield, chasing the quarterback to, go through those progressions quicker. Get out of, throwing off the back foot, making their fundamentals terrible. Because the less time a cornerback has to stay in coverage, the better they are. If you're good and you only have to cover for 1 or 2 seconds, you're great. If you're great and you only have to cover for 1 or 2 seconds, you eventually become an NFL All-Pro. Well, in college, you'll be an All-American because nobody's completing passes against you. So again, the less time any cornerback has to stay in coverage, the better. The second group, next in line, the linebackers. Look, when Eric Gentry's on the field, we know good things tend to happen, and they tend to happen a lot. And here's what's great about, what's really cool for Eric Gentry. Last year, Matt Entz rejuvenated him, taught him how to play linebacker. Now he's got Rob Ryan. He's going to add some, tricks from his bag. And you got more depth in the linebacker room. So that's pretty much where my level of concern is. Can they just stay healthy? Can they stay on the field? Specifically, Eric Gentry. Here's my 2 deep. You got Gentry, you got Desmond Stevens, second-year player. True sophomore. You got Anthony Beavers. Jaden Walker, second-year player from the state of Michigan. Matai Tagoai, AJ Tuatelli. They came in with the 2025 class. They're going to need a year to get bigger. I don't anticipate them helping out a lot this year. That's fine. Between Gentry and Stevens and Beavers and Walker, and you brought in the transfer from Penn State, Tamir Robinson. Now Danton Lynn and Coach Rob Ryan, they've got 5 guys they can rotate. That allows Matai and AJ to focus on their bodies, just getting bigger, physically maturing, earning a place on the field, getting some special teams run. I mentioned Desmond and Walker. Those are second-year guys with Coach Danton Lynn's system. We know Desmond Stevens got some run last year. He showed off his athleticism. Remember that interception he had against Penn State? Almost took it back to the house. When you have him and Gentry on the field at the same time, you got playmakers. I'm not going to rehash Eric Gentry's unicorn skill set. long arms, goes left to right with he can go from one sideline to the other in 4 steps. Exaggeration. You understand where I'm going. Jaden Walker, now a year in the system, looks like a legitimate Big Ten linebacker. Anthony Beavers, he made the switch full time. He's already one of the team leaders. All right, so linebacker room, concern number 2. If I have to rate the 3. The third, where I have the least amount of concern, that's the safety group. Kamari Ramsey, Bishop Fitzgerald, Christian Pierce, Marquise Gallegos. You got the transfer from Notre Dame, Kennedy Urlacher. This is going to be Kamari's 3rd year working in Danton's system. He understands it like the back of his hand. Now it's just a matter of playing free, not trying to, think too much. Just react. Just let your natural abilities come through. And he showed those off last year. Bishop Fitzgerald, the transfer from North Carolina State, he's going to play a ton. Kennedy Urlacher, the transfer from Notre Dame. I think he's going to be a big-time force on special teams. Eventually, he'll play a role in the defensive backfield. I think we'll see him early in those first 2 games, just so the coaching staff can see what they have with him. But Fitzgerald showed everybody at North Carolina State that he can get his hands on the ball too. He's a playmaker. Urlacher, true freshman at Notre Dame last year. He's like a missile. He's a downhill tackler. He looks like he's everything that everybody wanted Tackett Curtis to be. So with those guys' additions, plus you got Kamari Ramsey, Christian Pierce. He's another guy that I'm really excited about. As far as I'm concerned, I think the safety group is one of the strengths on the team. Kamari, Bishop Fitzgerald, Christian Pierce. Those 3 alone. And then you just need these younger guys coming up behind them to find their way. Show the staff that, you know what? You can trust me if you put me on the field. So, Roy M. There you go. Are there any concerns? Some mild ones. And the most concerning, cornerback, just because got to figure out who's playing, who's part of the rotation. Got to see who's going to step up, be that first team, second team. Linebackers, if Eric Gentry's healthy, stays on the field, him and Stevens are going to be a nightmare for opposing offenses to deal with. And then I just got done talking about the safeties. A lot of experience back there. All right. One more segment to go before we wrap up this episode of Locked on USC. And let's talk a little bit about recruiting during this dead period. So how are you feeling, right? Nothing's going on right now. We got the July 4th holiday coming up. Yeah, almost here. Believe it? We're almost at July 4th. Once you get past that, for me, I got Big Ten Media Days 3 weeks later. Pretty excited about that. And then once that's over, fall camp. That's how close we are. Look, the next time I think USC is going to hear their name called when they get a commitment, it's going to be in July. But how are you feeling about wide receiver Jalen Lott? You think he's coming to USC? What about Ethan Booby Feaster? So I guess the question is this. Will USC be getting Jalen Lott? He's making his announcement July 8th. Booby, he's anticipated to let everybody know what he's going to do July 4th. That's what I was talking about, July 4th. Now you know. That's the next time USC is anticipating a commitment. And that will be a major kaboom, a major bang. Fireworks will go off if USC can get that wide receiver from Texas, Booby Feaster. Either one of them. But July 4th is Independence Day, when you typically light your fireworks. I think I said it last week. I know for sure I mentioned it over on wearesc.com. Bring in both, right? Let's find out where Lott fits the best. Give him a shot to play wide receiver. Let him try out the secondary. He can do both. If you're looking for advantage USC, well, Jalen's sister runs track and field at the University of Southern California. Maybe he just wants to keep the family close together. I know the parents would love that. But there's been some lukewarm noise, a little smoke. Oregon might be in the lead for a lot. I don't know. We'll see. If Oregon is in the lead, it's probably because USC leads for Booby Feaster's commitment. And you know what? You'd love to have both, but if you can only take one, that's not a booby prize. That's actually a great prize. So those are the two names you're going to be hearing about first. Booby Feaster is making his announcement July 4th, Independence Day. It could be a major fireworks show for USC's recruiting class. That'll be commitment number 31. They're going for 35. There's only one other name that keeps coming up for USC right now. It's interior offensive lineman. You've heard me talk about him. Breck Kolajay, IMG Academy. That's probably not going to happen in July. In fact, his commitment might go all the way up into the early signing period, into December. I doubt it'll take that long, but again, USC has 30 commitments. Not everybody's going to be able to wait until they feel it's the time, because once that class is filled up, even if USC wants you, if there's no room, there's no vacancy, there's no room. Sorry. First come, first serve. So yes, there's a chance that both Feaster and Lott take two of those remaining 5 spots. If that happens, you're up to 32 commitments. With 3 left, we already know the staff is going to keep a couple open for those late rising seniors. Let the season the high school season play out, see who looks good. Maybe somebody decommits, reopens their recruitment. On that note, I know some of you had your fingers crossed, hoping Xavier Griffin might see the light and come back to USC. Well, it's not happening. Told you it wasn't going to happen. He committed to Alabama over the weekend, which I think was pretty much as expected. Look, it was always his dream school to go there. Christian Robinson played a huge role in his recruitment, huge role in reeling him in. Christian Robinson is considered one of the top young defensive minds in the country. He played football for Georgia, and now he's part of Alabama's coaching staff. So, look, at one time he was committed. Him and Cohen Brown are the only two who have decommitted from USC's class. Cohen Brown was committed the least amount of time. Once he started getting offers from Notre Dame and Texas, where he eventually ended up, that's what he wanted. He used USC as a stepping stone, and that's fine. I get it. It's a business. But look, right now, it's a dead period. USC's coaching staff taking a little bit of a break. They've earned it. They've got the number 1 ranked recruiting class in 2026. They're actually starting to shift their focus to 2027 for good reason. That 2027 class in California, just as deep as what the 2026 crop was. And the coaching staff, they're already making an impression on some of the guys they have to. One in particular, Elijah Harmon, big defensive tackle from Inglewood. As one person told me, USC would have to really screw up his recruitment to lose him. So while he's not committed yet, he probably will be at the earliest opportunity. But the reason why the coaching staff is kind of focusing on 2027, especially guys from across the country, is you want to gauge their interest. Because if you're going to invest your resources, time, money, you got to find out, those guys, how interested are they in USC? So that's where the coaching staff is right now. Kind of locking in, seeing, some of the guys across the country. They're all doing the, OT7s, Under Armour camps, all those types of things. And then, coaching staff will kind of narrow things down. But right now, they're looking to tie a bow on 2026, and they're just focusing on the upcoming season and the 2027 crop of recruits to get a fast start going on that class as well. All right, this show is over already. Can you believe it? One down, 4 more to go this week. That's right. Locked On USC comes at you 5 times a week. Don't forget, tell everybody. If you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. It's free. Just click that red subscribe button. Smash that thumbs up. It means a lot. Click that bell notification button. That way you're going to be the first to know when something happens. All right. Till that next episode of Locked On USC, everyone, you know what to do.